Hey, friend, Stephen Michael Miller here, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today, that you're ready to hit this morning the right way, keeping momentum going, because today we're going to be talking about something that is such a useful tool in all of our life. And that tool is learning how to use your intuition, that gut check, right? That check that comes to you and says, "Hey, you can do this." And maybe you should go this way, or maybe you should do it this way, or do something a little bit differently. I have an experience that I had that I wanted to share with you today. When I was about 15 years old, and when I was about 15 years old, I remember one day I was at our it was a Wednesday night, I believe. We were at a church function, kind of a youth night at a church, and me and some friends we love to explore around our church. We had kind of an area where there was some woods, a little bit. Actually, it wasn't a ton of woods, just a few different trees, and there was this area between some trees just across this busy road between the trees and this fence that we would go, and we kind of it was kind of our fort, I guess, sort of. And we'd go there to hang out and to talk and, whatever. And we had a lot of fun over there. And I remember this one day in particular, as I was heading, I had spent some time in this area, and my friends, it was time to kind of go back. My friends had all gone back ahead of me. And I said, I'll be there in a little bit. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was like, I'll be there in a little bit. Go on without me. So they went on, and I remember I was coming out of this kind of wooded or treed area, and as I was about to cross the street, and the church building was kind of just across the street and over to the left from where I was standing, maybe about I don't know, 100 yards or so, and and I get up to the point where I was about to cross the road, and this car pulled up in front of me. And at first, I didn't think a whole lot about it. It was actually a red truck. This red truck pulled up in front of me, and at first, I didn't think a lot of it. It didn't mean anything to me because I didn't think it was, I didn't think anything was going on or whatever. And this car pulled up and kind of stopped me where I was about to cross the road. I started going around the backside of the truck. So I thought maybe it was stopping for some weird reason. So I went around the back side of the truck to go around the back of it. And all of a sudden, this truck threw itself into reverse, or the person, of course, driving did, threw it into reverse and screeched back and stopped to cut me off from going around the back of this car. Well, at this time, I had this massive gut reaction, major gut check. Intuition was telling me you're in danger big time, and not to take this lightly. I mean, this was like almost an immediate, massive intuition where I had this feeling you've got to get back to that church as quickly as humanly possible. Now, I know this might seem like no duh or whatever, but I mean, for me, it was so clear, and my body went into reactive mode. My body actually knew exactly what to do, even probably more than I did in my mind, which was kind of crazy for me because as a 15-year-old, I felt like I was pretty fast. But all of a sudden, in an instant, I had this intuition tell me I needed to get to safety as quickly as possible. I followed that intuition. I ran around the front of the truck. I heard this truck switch back into drive. I heard it kind of throw it into gear, and I started crossing this busy road. Now, the road was probably a 5-lane road, I'm guessing, two on the left, two on the right, in the middle lane. If I remember right, it was something like that, about a 5-lane road. And I remember I was just sprinting across this road as fast as I can. And I'm flying. I I can run pretty fast, or I could run pretty fast as a 15-year-old. I'm still pretty quick. But I was just booking it as fast as I could. And I could almost see the car behind me. It was such a weird space, but I'm sitting here, I'm following my intuition, running across the road. I get to this point, the car tries to cut me off again. I go around the back of this car, and I'm flying over towards the church. Again, it's probably about maybe 50 to 100 yards away, and I'm running as fast as I can to get to the front door of the truck. When I get there, I pound on this front door, and my brother comes, opens the door, and I get inside. And it was interesting because in this experience, in particular, my brother who came to the door to open it, he didn't come right away. I felt like I was pounding on that door forever. But he said when he got to the door, he had seen that this man had stopped his car right in front of the church. He had taken his hands and placed them over um, the top of the truck, or the over the hood of the truck, and he couldn't see it very clearly, but I mean, it looked like he was pointing a gun at me. Now, I don't know what that person's issue was. I didn't have enemies at 15. I didn't make enemies. I didn't do crazy things. I was a pretty well behaved kid, and and but I got into the church. I got in safely. Guy got back in his truck and he left. And I never really learned or found out why that happened, what it was that that man was looking for, why he thought I was maybe the target or the person or whatever that he wanted to go after. But I know for a fact that it was because of my intuition and following that intuition that I'm alive today. Uh, I've had so many different circumstances in life, in relationships, in business, where I've followed the intuition that I've received. I followed that kind of the gut check maybe first, and then it's oftentimes followed by mental clarity or instruction, and where I followed that intuition, and the outcome was a positive outcome. I've experienced this in business where I've was in a sales conversation and I knew I in a moment or in an instant I knew exactly what to say in that conversation where what I was about to say was something unorthodox, right? Have you ever been in this situation where you've been kind of in a sales situation and you're talking to somebody and you're trying to bring as much value as you possibly can to that person, and in the conversation you understand or that they desire and can use the product or service that you maybe are selling them. Have you ever been in a situation? I'm not talking about where you're pushing your wares on everybody and you're scared that you're not going to get the next dollar. So you're really scared for that sale. So maybe you push them into a sale that they may or may not have purchased. I'm talking about the situation where the conversation may be going one way, but you get that again, that intuition, that gut check kind of chimes in, and you get that intuition that says you need to say this specifically. Well, in that situation for me, I remember specifically there's been several circumstances where I've been given that information. I've felt that kind of inspiration. I have followed that. And every time I have followed that inspiration, the conversation has gone differently than I expected, but better always than I expected. Following intuition, and call it what you want will, you can call it the universe, you can call it intuition, you can call it, some people call it the light of Christ or the spirit or whatever you want to call that. But that intuition is something that you can learn how to follow and learn to listen to over and over and over again. I've been able to use intuition in in that experience as a 15-year-old to literally save my life, in the experience as a business owner, to increase the bottom line, to make sales that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have made. I've been able to use that intuition in conversations with my children, um, where I knew, because of that intuition, I knew certain things. I mean, I've had so many conversations with uh, probably almost every single one of my children, where we've been in a situation where they said something or they did something that I didn't know about, and as we were having the conversation, or as we were talking together, that intuition kicked in, and I listened to it, and the outcome was preferable. The outcome was better than expected. The outcome was something that maybe I couldn't foresee, but it was better. And I've also been on the other side of that kind of story where I received that intuition, or I got that feeling, that gut check, and I was kind of on that spiritual plane where I was listening and trying to learn and grow, but I didn't heed that intuition, that thought, that new idea. I didn't follow through with it. I didn't trust it. And the more that we can learn to trust that intuition, to trust that gut. Again, for me, I believe that is divine. That comes from God. That information for you, wherever that comes from, that's completely up to you to decide for you. But I know that when I have followed those bursts of inspiration, it's been positive for me. When I haven't, it's never led to a premium outcome, I'll say it that way. It's never led to the best outcome. It oftentimes leads to more trial or more learning, if we wanna look at it that way. And, so I'm learning, and I've learned in the past, I'm learning every single day to follow that intuition, to follow that gut check, to follow that inspiration that comes, and by doing so, I get to trust that inspiration, that trust that feeling more and more and more. And so, really, on this journey of self improvement, of keeping momentum going, of getting after it every single day, the more you will rely on and trust in those little pieces of inspiration, those little pieces of information that hit us here and oftentimes hit us here as well. If we will follow those things, it will lead us to even greater and greater success. That's our morning motivation for this morning. My name is Stephen Michael Miller. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we definitely hope to see you on the next one, which will be tomorrow. Join us every single day of the week to get that little burst of motivation and inspiration that you might need to fulfill your dreams, your goals, to complete and become an even better person than you are today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.